Wallis kicks the goal! Now Wallis to finish here for the Dogs, and why not?
Really likes it, does Mitch, as he should.
Great work by Wallis. Wallis beats the two of them.
Top of the square, and Wallis has got it!
Mitch Wallis is the son of a gun and a Bulldog through and through. His journey has seen some highs and some heartbreaking lows. I caught up with the man who wears the Doggies' famous number 3. Mitch, it's great to catch up with you. You're a Bulldog through and through. You grew up part of the Bulldog family. What was it like growing up with the colours in the family?
Yeah, I've had a journey that's, you know, it's a lot of people don't get to share in the moments of a footy club like I did when my dad played. And they're moments that'll live with me forever. And being able to experience that with Tom Liberatore, one of my good mates and teammates, I still feel lucky because I know the impact it's having on me with bringing my kids to the footy and that exposure that they're getting. But, you know, obviously loved all sports growing up, but footy was my main one. And being introduced to the club life so early and then having a relationship with guys like yourself and, you know, my idols, I would look back and be proud, but at the moment I'm just still living that dream of as I was when I was young, to play with the club that I was followed for, you know, for 18 years.
Did your dad ever get the VHS out and show you some tapes?
I must say, there is a few old tapes that he has, and like every player, they get better with age. But again, unfortunately, I was only about 5 when he retired, so I haven't got a whole lot of on-field memories, but post that, obviously, with the people that you come across and his ex-teammates and some of the players that he played with, talking about him and how he was on the field and as a person, you know, I look back on, you know, hearing those things and be really proud of the player he was, but the person he is. And, you know, like you said, it's in my blood and it's been in my father's blood and will be, hopefully, my family's for years to come. A
lot of people talk so positively about your dad, but your conversations internally with him growing up about footy, what were they like? Yeah,
so Steve was my coach through juniors, you know, even coached my school side as well. So he was heavily involved in my footy. But I think he really took a back step when I entered the AFL system. You know, I've said it on record before that they held number 24 for me, which was his number when he played. But he was big on me forging my own path and sort of stepping out of his shadow and creating my own journey. So that was a big step and something that sort of triggered in my brain that, you know, he wants me to live my life and not be sort of cast as his son. I took number 3, which obviously the expectation on that number is quite heavy with obviously some, you know, Hall of Fame legends wearing that number.
You really?
Yeah. So, yeah, the expectation was probably bigger than it would have been with number 24.
Forge your own career, but I'll just take 3.
But again,
straight to the front row. Hang on 1 second. Straight to the front row. This is big.
Yeah, Bob Murphy, Daniel Cross, Matthew Boyd, and these are my idols, obviously, growing up as a 15, 16, 17-year-old. So to step right in the deep end, it was amazing. But, yeah, as soon as I sort of hit the club and started to train, he let me go and said, no, look, I won't come down to the rooms. I'll be on the background. I'll be always there if you needed a chat or wanted some advice. But this is your journey. You make the decisions.
I know him as a really selfless individual. What he did for me in my first year at the football club blew me away. The time he'd spent on ground, post sessions, working with him, my kicking, which wasn't up to scratch and those sort of things. So what was he like with your other teammates? Because he's an educator, he's a man that likes to see people just get on in life and improve.
Yeah, and he's so passionate about improving the individual. I think that's probably one of his greatest strengths, is he's not doing it for any self-gain or anything. He was there to, you know, invest in the person and obviously, again, bring them on as a footballer, but at the same point, obviously make them grow into men that, you know, obviously respect people but have good values and morals. And we kept our group together. And like I said before, we had a fair bit of success, but I think it was down to those values of obviously training hard but treating each other well and enjoying our footy. So, again, he's definitely so important to me, but I know a lot of my friends even have a great relationship with him and look to him for guidance and wisdom because he's very balanced, come from humble upbringings, and invest in the person to make them better, like I said before, for not wanting anything in return.
Talk about leadership for a second. What do you learn off your mum and dad to become the leader that you are now?
Yeah, I think having a balanced approach. Obviously, you've got to back yourself in and be confident, but also one of the main skills of a leader is listening, and then obviously taking time to digest what people are saying and then helping them, not always telling them the right way to go about things. But I think investing time into people is probably the biggest thing. You've got to want to improve them as a person, invest the time for that to happen, and not having the fleeting, corridor comments and stuff. I don't think that's a strong enough foundation for a relationship, especially at a footy club, but that's in life as well. So that caring aspect of leadership is something that I think I've been taught by my parents, but something that I'm continuing to evolve. And obviously my family, but amongst my mates, of just being that ear to listen to what they're going through, and just letting it digest, and trying to help them through their journey rather than to push them in a direction that they don't want to.
Is that something you've always had through your footy career, coming right through, or was it more sort of maybe from your call to cannon period as things started to get a little bit more serious in your direction?
More serious, and it's a great learning playing for different clubs, and you would have been the same. You play for a representative team, for club teams, and it's funny that the teams that are most successful probably have the most people drafted, which again was probably the objective as a young player. And Tom and I went through a journey where we were told we were getting drafted halfway through the year, which was really unprecedented.
What were the conversations like when you're halfway through your under-18 year with the Calder Cannons and you're going to an AFL club?
Yeah, it's amazing. And they said to be quiet about it, obviously.
How quiet were you?
Oh, no, quite enough. I think I told my close mates, but it was, we were in the paper a fair bit. There was a fair bit, and we were flying at the minute, as you can remember. The Doggies were playing in prelims and a really strong side. So you couldn't wipe the smile off my face, and it really let me enjoy my Year 12 schooling with the pressure of my future. Obviously in stone to a point that I knew I was going to end up at an AFL club. So I invested in my school. I had some fun. I obviously took my schooling seriously in exams, but it wasn't the pressure that I probably would have put myself under if I hadn't have been told that I was going to end up on an AFL list. So I enjoyed my Year 12 a hell of a lot, yeah.
You might know this, Mitch, but I retired at the end of 2010, and the reason I retired is I got a tap on the shoulder because the club said, we've got these two young blokes, these father-sons coming through, we need a couple of list spots. So I got the tap to allow you to go on the list.
Seriously, I was praying that you could just strap on the boots. You could stop getting hit by bloody carts and things and stuff. But like you said, mate, we were close growing up, and I know you were trying your best, and you said it when I was around the club one day that I'll try and hang on for you, but...
1 year. I would have loved 1 year.
You're 41 when you were...
Yeah, just about. I felt 45, but 1 year, absolutely. Would have loved that to have played with your old man, played with Libba's dad as well, and then to have that 1 year with you guys would have been a great full stop.
It would have been special, but I think we were lucky enough to be around, so I knew that, the person you were and how hard you trained, and I still looked up to you. Obviously, you know that, but... it was unfortunate, but I still feel like I was part of the journey with you, just because obviously the exposure that Tom and I got at the club before, we were drafted. Let's
go through the father-sons. There's yourself and your dad, of course, so we'll skip straight past that. And look, you've spoken about Tom a little bit. Now, Tony for me was a competitive beast. At training, it didn't matter who you were. You'd attack the contest, attack you as an individual, hard tackling machine. Are there any similarities between Tom and Tony?
There's so many similarities. And I think there was a retro team of the century or something, and they were both, one was Ruck Rover and the other one was Rover, which is a scary sight for any opposition team. But, definitely.
How does he change a game? Because Tony changed the game by a run-down tackle that inspired us all. How does Tom change a game?
So he extracts the ball. He's someone that you talk about contested possessions and ground ball gets, but if there was a stat that was like pulling the ball from a congested situation where there's 5 blokes in there, he just finds this way to grab the ball and then release a bomb to Bailey Smith. And he does it time and time again. He's just got this aptitude and this fitness to just push right to the end.
Zane and Brian Courtney. Now, Brian Courtney was my Year 12 teacher. Year 11 and 12. So I knew Brian. I think he actually maybe even had a hand in getting me drafted to the Bulldogs back, 1993, a long time ago now.
1980,
yeah, exactly. So you might know much about Brian, as a player, but what about Zane? What does Zane offer?
He's really wiry. So I think, there's balls where you go, OK, he's out of his position, but then he just fights and scraps, and in his uncanny way and his lanky way, he just gets a hand to it. But also, he's probably a better opposite foot kick than he is on his normal kick. That's one of those fact-finding things that, we're doing our opposite foot drills or whatever, and he looks more natural kicking the ball with his left foot. So versatile, but I think at the end of the day, his competitiveness is what sets him above, some other players.
So Mark Hunter, for me, was he kicked the ball. He didn't handball the ball, but he kicked the ball. He kicked it extremely well. One of the best kicks I've ever played with.
I've read a few of his stat lines.
He would have 25 kicks in a game.
0,
Yes.
and goals.
That's spot on with that.
Choco Royal, they're the same. Yeah.
So Lockie likes to kick it as well. I don't think he probably doesn't kick it as well as his dad, but he's still an important player.
He is, and he's a gut runner. You know, you talk about people that can run the wings and run all day. You know, he's obviously a best and fairest winner. He's so potent with his ability to get back deep in defence, but also then burn you off and get a kick inside 50. So, yeah, Lockie's had an interesting journey in footy. He's had the ultimate highs and gone through some rough patches as well, but he's still got so much to offer. And his consistency across the game, you know, he'll rack up 30 touches just on a whim.
What I'm going to throw into the mix into the middle is Granny and Isabella.
Yes.
How good is that, the fact that Isabel is playing AFLW footy for the Dogs?
It was fantastic. And you just, obviously, I'm close with Granny. I wore Granny's number.
Exactly.
This is the thing when I was
right.
younger. But the smile on his face when that was all coming about, she got drafted, you could never meet a prouder parent than he was in that moment. And, you know, obviously she's developing in her footy career and hopefully plays for many more seasons to come. But the fact that that's a real thing now and girls can look up and have goals of playing with it in the red, white and blue. You know, I've got a daughter now, so who's to say that she won't end up? So it's just, you know, AFL's a magnificent platform for that, and those good stories and those memories, like I said before, that people are creating in that environment is just too good.
Now, the next one's really close to your heart, I know, because you know Westie and the West extremely well.
Yep.
And now, Scotty was 7-time best and fairest, ridiculous in terms of his player and competitiveness.
Yeah.
Riley looks exactly the same as Scott.
They run the same.
Everything's identical.
Yeah.
What about the way they play?
Yeah, so Riley, he can play above his weight class. Like, obviously, there's a couple of knocks on him with his skill at times, but he makes up for that in his just attack on the ball and creating something from nothing. He's had a great season so far.
Have you worked with him in that forward craft aspect of things?
I have, and he obviously, you know, he follows around Marcus very closely, and I follow around Marcus even though he's 4 years more younger. But no, he's been. What's been really, you know, positive about Riley is he's stuck at it. He's had a few years where he's been dominating VFL footy, but hasn't really had that opportunity of sustained AFL football, but it hasn't wavered in his training.
The final one, and I hope it's the final one because we've gone through so many, haven't we? But Das was ridiculously good in terms of he was such an aggressive player. He was the ultimate teammate because he was tall, he was strong, and he could lift the team on his shoulders. Not as tall as his son, though.
Far out. He jumped a presentation the other day, walked in, and Das is going under every light and everything. And you look at, I remember Luke, he's probably 199, 198, so not 2 metres just yet. But then Das, Luke's looking up to him, so he'd be 208, 209. He's just a magnificent looking specimen at you know, well over 2 metres. But, mate, he's a great story. Obviously had an interrupted pre-season. But there was a couple of games prior to him making his AFL debut that all the players got to watch because the VFL and AFL don't align. But his competitive nature when the ball hits the deck is something that I haven't seen from a big bloke in a long time. So there's so much scope for him to be part of that back line, even in the ruck, hopefully one day.
2016 was a massive year for the footy club. The grand final win for you individually, you're flying along, and then the injury that you suffered with the bad break. Yep. Talk us through the injury first. How bad was it, and what actually occurred? Yeah,
so it was a tib-fib complete snap. The bootleg fracture they call it because it's similar to those experienced when you're skiing, when you break your leg and it actually stays in your ski boot. Well, that's how they explain it to me anyway. Sorry for the graphic detail, but yeah, quite significant and something that still gives me shivers today. At the time, obviously, there's those millions of those questions that pop in your head: whether you'll be able to walk again, whether you'll be able to run again, and then eventually play again, which seems so far away because everything's so acute. You know, you go from feeling so much pain to a little bit less to then be able to sit up, and these things are weeks apart. They don't all come at once, but the amount of support I got through that period from players who have previously broken their leg, who have reached out, being, you know, Gary Lyon, Michael Voss reached out, Michael Barlow flew over and came and visited me, and he said that he was paying it forward because someone did it to him. So I've spoken to the media about doing it to Tom Mitchell, who went through similar things. So I think you you become part of a club that's been through this, and having people that have experienced that help you see the light at the end of the tunnel. But as you said, it was during a time of the club's, one of the most successful part of the club's history in winning a grand final. So that was just another layer to obviously the emotion that I was going through. And, you know, you reflect on it and you talk a little bit deeper about what I was going through and what I was experiencing. I was so happy for my teammates to be part of it, but obviously there's that, you know, that bit inside you that wants to be a part of it. And not until you really sit back on the holiday or the off-season and think about everything that's gone on in your life up to that point, and then you've missed out on the ultimate thing that you wanted to do for that whole time, that hits you like a ton of bricks. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, obviously noticed that in me and noticed me falling off the perch a little bit in terms of how confident I was to get back, whether I wanted to play again. And they were only fleeting moments, but still there's doubt there because you missed out and there's no guarantee of you playing. But I'm a competitive person, and as soon as I started to make these gains and these little hurdles that I started to overcome, I knew that I could get back, and that was enough motivation to want to do it all again. But grand finals are hard to win, they're hard to make, and obviously throughout my journey we've been sort of up and down with the team's success and wins and losses. So there's still that hope and that burning desire to want to play in one, but I still love the game and I still love training and my teammates, which allowed me to have a 10+ year career.
2020, COVID hits. You start Hub Life.
Yep.
What was it like in Hub Life? For me personally, I think you would excelled in Hub Life because of the personality that you are.
Yeah. It was interesting because we had Charlotte, my first girl, 10 days before we left. Yep. And having that conversation with Emily was an interesting one, saying that we're going to pack...
Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe you weren't the life of the...
It didn't start. It started on unsteady shores, but I said pack for a couple of weeks. It could be 3 weeks. It won't be any longer than 5 weeks. And that was the optimism that you attacked it with. And they said, what day do we coming home? And I'm like, just, 30, 40, 20th, whatever it is. And time passed. But we got the opportunity to be parents together and just parent without any influence as a family, which is really important. And again, looking back, it would have been great to have, obviously, grandparents' help. But every night we were in our hotel room and we devoted every second we could to our daughter. We read her books, we danced with her, we bathed her. And there was such a beautiful routine that I got time to spend with her that I probably would never in my life. And I know my young son will. I haven't got that time, hadn't had that time. But that was just the family side. And then you talk about playing footy in that environment.
I was going to say, we had to be flexible and agile. They were the words at the time. But you in particular, because you got thrown forward. You turned into the key forward at the club. How did that come about? Yeah,
it happened in a practice game. And I think in the pre-season, and we have a star-studded midfield, there's no doubting that. And I was coming off a season-ending injury the year before, so I'm just like, look, I just want to play. Just throw me wherever you want. And I did okay. I think I kicked a handful of goals in one of the practice matches, which got me a gig in the NAB, the pre-season games. And played round 1 and round 2, and then there was a big lockdown. And I knew that I had an opening. I knew that there was a role there for me, so I went away and trained really hard in that little interim break and came back fit and strong, which probably gave me the best opportunity to hold that spot. And then, it just took off from there, and I really enjoyed having influence on games, different to what it was as a midfielder because you got more opportunity, and was being able to do that consistently was something that, I was pretty proud of.
This year, Mitch, it's been tough for you, and it's really delicate, but it's talking about death into life.
Yes, it is, and it's obviously been shared publicly that I lost my mother-in-law, Katie, back in probably mid-season, suddenly. It was a tragedy where she was hit by a car and pronounced brain dead 3 or 4 days later, and in amongst that, we were expecting our second child, Will. Talk about the word perspective a lot. Your world gets turned upside down when something like that happens, and you do get perspective on what's important and the things that you hold most dear. Because, I was the last person of our family to see Katie alive, and that was, the night before. And the reason that she was out and about was because she was worried about us. She was worried about Emily being a little bit overdue. And she was such a beautiful, caring person. And I'll get to donate life and the impact that that's had on our lives in a minute. But to have someone like that ripped away from you so suddenly in a moment where, you know, Emily needed her every step of the way during her pregnancy, you do want to hold those close to you and not let go. And the waves of emotions that came over me as obviously a son-in-law, but my wife, my parents, my father-in-law, Emery's dad, and her sister, Bella. You know, in that time, the only thing we could do was band together. We spent a lot of time together, not always talking, but just seeing and wanting to hold each other and not let go was probably the most powerful thing that we could do. Know that we had each other's backs, know that we were always there to support each other. And I think along the journey is, since that death, people have gone in and out of how they're feeling. I know my wife was really stoic to start with, but then had her troubles in the last probably month where things the reality's really set in. So I don't think you ever get over something such a tragedy like that. I think there's new obstacles and hurdles to always confront, whether it be birthdays. Christmas is coming up later in the year. The firsts are always the hardest. They do get easier, but I don't think there's a day that goes by that we don't acknowledge her presence. But I think if we talk about Katie as a person, how caring she was and putting others, before herself, for her to be able to donate 3 of her organs.
Take your time, mate. Just take your time. There's no hurry here, Mitch, at all, mate.
The legacy that she leaves behind, continuing to help others.
Yeah.
It's sorry, I don't really get that emotional.
It's all good. Okay, mate.
It's something that she leaves behind for her, but it's legacy for the family as well. We're so proud of her, the person she was, but to think that she's continually going to help other people live a stronger, a better life is something that we can really hold on to forever. So again, we've obviously had a strong partnership with Donate Life at the Footy Club. So I implore everyone to sign up. It's very quick, it's very easy. All you have to do is visit the website and put your name down. And you too can help, because I know there's a lot of people out there on lists waiting for organ donations, and it's very easy to sign up. And the fact that if unfortunate events occur and you leave this world, that you can actually help others. And I think that's what Katie would have wanted, but that's how she lived her life, helping others. And she was able to do that in a way that, we can remember her forever, and she's going to be around, and she's going to, she departed this world still, and still is helping other people. You've
spoken so well, Mitch, about Katie, and then a week later you have your second child with Will.
I'll take that jacket off for a sec. So then young Will comes along, and you're talking about having so much emotion and hatred of what the circumstance you're in, and then you turn this ball and this internal combustion into love and this astonishment that I have a baby boy, I have a son, and that were the first words Emily spoke to me. She goes, "I made you a boy," and that still makes me tear up to this day, because I was a blabbering mess in the labour ward. And then we thought of Katie and spoke about, Katie, this is your grandson. And he's such he's a bundle of laughter at the minute. He's just learned how to smile and laugh and giggle, which he's making every day easier and every day a pleasure. And he's bigger than his sister was. He's a big brute of a boy. But again, back to that word perspective of what's important and holding him tight and raising him to the, being proud of him and giving him every opportunity to be happy is what Emily and I were put on this earth for. So along with Charlotte, we're a happy family of 4 at the minute. Whether there's more to come, I'm not sure. But I absolutely love being a dad, as you can probably tell. But he is a bundle of joy.
Well, Mitch, you're not playing for the remainder of the season. You
got me new shoes on.
New shoes on.
These are me hockers, mate. This is day 1. So you'll hear me before you see me.
Explain the hocker. What is it?
So it's a really stiff sole.
Okay.
And it doesn't allow the foot to flex.
And what's the injury first, actually?
It's a plantar plate rupture.
Okay.
So
never heard of that before.
Layman's terms, it's a foot reconstruction.
Wow.
I know, it sounds worse than it is. But no, they sew that it holds the toes together. So they sew that together, which is a pretty significant thing, because the healing process is quite significant. 16
what is
weeks.
the time frame?
Yeah, 16 weeks. So,
okay.
till return to play. So I'll be running in about a month, and then I'll be right for pre-season. But yeah, it was just another pain because once it was in so much pain before the operation, but once the operation was had, it was curtains on the season.
You mentioned you'll be right for pre-season. Where's that at? Where's your contract at?
I really want to play on next year, and have had numerous chats with Sam, our list manager, and Bevo about that concept. And they're they'd love to have, not obviously, but they'd love to have me, which is good. And we're finalising that at the minute. So hopefully we get something out before I take off to Queensland for my off season. And I'm sure it will. So I look forward to it, attacking it, with a curious mind, but also an endeavour to get better and be competitive amongst teammates and play for the Bulldogs next year.
It's been a pleasure to catch up, Mitch. It's been good to spend some time with you, and good luck recovering from your injury, and all the very best next year in the red, white and blue.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Jono. Appreciate it, mate. Cheers.
This has been a Fox Sports production.